Hello, Judy. It's so good to see you. So I'm so grateful that I'm in the same committee with you with the resource team, and I learned so much already. And the more I know, the more I love
Oh,
who you are and all that, as you know. And
thank
so I'm
you.
trying to save some time so we can get into the interview question. I'm sure there's a lot of beautiful stuff will come out from that. So question number one, what's a story about how spiritual wisdom has touched or support you in your life and work?
Oh. Oh, what I recall, I used to have them very separate. Spiritual reading and spiritual practice for me were almost like a hobby, kind of, that quiet, blocked off part of my life I didn't want to talk to anybody about or have them know that was important to me because I was a professional and I was an academic and, I don't want anybody seeing me as flaky. And yoga was one of my main practices. Particularly, with yoga, you breathe with every movement, and there's special yogic breathing practices just to keep you centered and well connected. And I was working in a company that made circuit boards, and I was at a meeting with some of the top leaders that I had been invited by one of the manufacturing engineers to attend so I could understand some of the technical problems that they were working on. And, I had some ideas because I was helping to do quality management, quality circles kinds of things. So I had some ideas and shared them. And then at the end of the meeting, everybody got up to leave, and I was leaving. And the president of the company, and if you can imagine, he was like 6'6", big guy, very intimidating, no warmth in him at all. And it was ahead of me as I go out the door, and he turns around suddenly, puts his arms against the door, blocks me from leaving, and said, "What were you doing at this meeting?" And my heart stopped and my breathing stopped. And I, was so scared. And I suddenly remembered paying attention to my breathing. And so I took a deep, calm breath, emptied out. And so, because my mind had just shut down, and I just emptied out and I said, you know, kind of like a prayer, let's create the space for something to come in. And all of a sudden, I just found myself saying, well, I was invited by Mike. I'm here to help with this and that. And this is information I'm going to take back to the teams. And his arms just went down. He said, "Oh, okay, thanks for being here." And he just turned around and left. And, and it was such a shift that that I suddenly realized the power of quieting and tuning into my breath and not allowing fear to take over. And so that became, once I knew that viscerally, that became a way of life for me and a wisdom that I could always tap into. It's available to anyone, to be able to shift your consciousness in that moment. So that's my story.
A beautiful story. Thank you so much. I hold my breath as well as you are being. It's beautiful, and I start breathing as you're breathing too. So thank you for
You're
being my
welcome.
mirror.
That's
So the
the
next question.
mirror neurons that you like to talk about.
That's right, exactly right.
Yeah.
You can't avoid that, and that's when you connect with someone, we are short circuited.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
people.
right. So the next one is what wisdom and experience can you offer to the dialogue about conscious leadership?
Ah. Well, I've been studying workplace spirituality since 1992, and the particular focus I've taken is on leadership, particularly leaders who put spirituality and their spiritual identity as central to who they are, and then their leadership comes out of that. And I've been calling leaders like that, in the guild we call them conscious leaders. I've been calling them edge walkers because they walk between the material world and the spiritual world. And so I bring the wisdom and the experience with studying people like that. And I also have been very interested in their impact on the larger system. on organizational change and how they can shift the culture. So I've been studying organizations, and I've worked with John Renish to identify organizations that are explicitly spiritual, that have spiritual practices and spiritual policies, and identifying them and actually giving them an award. We originally called it the Willis Harmon Spirit at Work Award. And so I know a lot about companies and what their spiritual practices are. And so I bring that, I bring particularly an academic way of organizing that information so that, it's like, in a way, I feel like the librarian of the field. Is like, if you want to know who wrote a book on teamwork and spirituality, just ask me. Or if you want to know about the um, Hindu approach to conscious leadership, just ask me, and I can recommend books or introduce people um, to someone who's working in that field. Um, so I think that's central to what I bring.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. That was, now I learned a few more things about you now.
That's the point of these interviews, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
The next one is the easy one for you. What's your learning edge and what energizes you to discover and learn?
Ah, yeah, that is an easy one. And it's like, I don't know why. I feel like a beginning student, but I'm so attracted. Well, here, let me back up. I talked about workplace spirituality, and that's been my focus since 1992. That's a really long time to be studying something. That doesn't feel like enough for making a difference in the world. I thought that corporations might be the high leverage point to make things better on the planet. I think it's more neutral. Some make it better, some make it worse. And so the last couple of years, I've really started to be deeply curious about how we shift global consciousness. It's like you talk about large systems change. I want to understand how we change humanity. So it gets much more philosophical and spiritual, but it's also practical about social change movements and how consciousness shifts individually and collectively. So I do not have answers. I just am reading lots of books and talking to people and going to webinars and feel like a sponge. That's just, I want to learn whatever I can and then contribute whatever I can to this unfolding that's really necessary. If we don't shift our consciousness as humanity, there will be no humanity. We're at such a crisis point for human life on the planet. And we're damaging a lot of other life at the same time. So um, it's really important, and I'm really glad to know I'm not the only one that's looking at this, because it would be too much.
Now we have a bigger group that we can count on to help each other to be able to do that. And all the connections will definitely make a big difference.
Right.
The difference will make a difference.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what do you long for?
Well, I think I long for that shift in global consciousness. I have a friend, Martin Root, who has the project Heaven on Earth. And one of his questions, he has three questions he asks people to ask each other. And one of those questions is, what would heaven on earth be to you? And when he asked me that, I had a vision of all children growing up in the world, feeling safe, feeling fed, feeling loved. So just imagining them all going out and playing with each other, children of all colors and abilities and different backgrounds, and not caring about the differences, but caring about the play and just being in joy together. So I long for a world where every single child has that kind of feeling and freedom and honor of their each unique gifts.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it because the children represent what the parents have and where they live. And that means it's peace, means it's abundance,
Yes.
means it's safe. Yeah, I love that. Yes, beautiful. Go for it.
Thank you. Let's manifest it.
Of course. All right. And next question is, what kind of support am I inviting from the guild member, if I may ask?
Oh, well, I would love it if guild members got curious, particularly about my Edgewalker work, because that's the work I've put the most time and energy into. I've created assessments of Edgewalker leadership and Edgewalker culture in organizations, and I would love if people explored that to see if they resonated with it, if they thought they could use it in their own programs or in their companies or nonprofits or classrooms. I think, there's things I've created. I don't market what I do. It's just, it's not my calling. Um, I, and so people don't know what I've created that might be of use to them. So it would really warm my heart, and feel like my work made a difference if people knew about it. And even if one person in the guild said, I really love this assessment. I have one assessment of, I call the archetypes of change. And there's 5 different archetypes of way people respond to change, whether they resist it or embrace it, or there's just whether they think about the future and the past, what they long for affects if they respond to change in a positive way. And I think that instrument is really useful. And the only place it's ever been used is when I tested it with 330 Dominican nuns at a conference. And it was really wonderful to see the response and the collective profile and the individual profiles. Other than that, it's languished. And so, if, I'd love if somebody was curious about that and maybe wanted to use it in some way in the work that they're doing.
Sounds good. As a member of the guild, I would love to be able to get some taster choice. I mean, like Baskin Robbins, have the little spoon,
Yeah,
and the Sis Candy store, they give you a little sample on the top, on the side, and those I would love to have some taste. So if you can put it out there on the table, where
uh,
Mindy Network or wherever, is that here, this is a sample, you can play with it and tell me what you think. I would love to be able to taste that. So invite you to put that sample, you know,
yeah.
out there. So that
Well,
would be wonderful.
thank you. I'm just playing with creating webinars and recording myself and learning how to do that. And so I want to create, just a short webinar for free
Yeah,
that would be exactly that. It's like,
yeah,
here's some of my ideas and
yeah,
come taste, see if
yeah,
there's something a flavor that you like
yeah.
here. So
Yeah,
thank you, Sam. You're giving me encouragement to do something like that.
yeah, we lock in the house. What else are you gonna do, right?
Yeah, right.
Invite people come to your virtual house, right?
Right. If not now, when too? This is the
Exactly right.
time.
Yeah, exactly right. So get it
Yeah.
started. So to get the fire going, the campfire is coming up soon.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we come to the last part where we have an open-ended question. We've asked to you to choose any of the 4 of your choice, whatever your favorite that may be.
All right, let me take a look at them. Okay, I'm going to go off on a different tangent. One of the questions is, what gives you the most fun, joy, contentment, and fulfillment in your life and work? Music is my answer. Music has always been a spiritual practice for me. It's like when I play music, I just lose all sense of self and I feel a oneness with music. And I learned to play bass 10 years ago. And there was a time when I was, and I'd like to get back to this, there was a time when I was studying online bass lessons. And I remember, listening to the teacher online talk about a particular riff that you could play, and he showed how to play it. And I went, oh, that sounds so cool. And then I played it on my bass, and I went, I can do this. Wow. I've always heard that in songs and it sounds so cool, but I didn't know I could do it. And so I was able to learn that kind of thing. And it's so different from my academic work and being in my head. And it brings me great joy. And then I find ways to actually bring music into my teaching, into my courses, I'm often asked to lead spiritual retreats. and to do, to play just music for, to back up a meditation as a way of helping that unfold. That integration of spirituality and work and music brings me such joy, such fulfillment. It feels like it's mine to do. Not everybody can do it. It's, it's a little different, but it's it feels like a gift from God to be able to offer people. So I
What
think,
you're saying is like the music to my ear, to my soul.
yes, yes, exactly. And I call music and poetry and art and all of those kinds of expressions, they're shortcuts to our
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
So many people are like me where, we've got our heads and we listen to things with our brain and our intellect, and we argue with our inside our heads with somebody who's speaking, and we compare, oh, I read this somewhere, or I think of this model, and all of it's in the head. And then someone sings us a song and we burst into tears and we get something that we couldn't have got anywhere else. And uh,
Wow.
I think it's a precious gift.
As I listen to you discovering music, I think about the one we have inside my storytelling. It's almost have so much in common
Yes.
and stringing all the feelings, all the vibration together
Right, exactly.
make
Yeah.
a deep impression and influencing and vibrating to
Hmm.
the same resonance.
Yeah, exactly. Beautifully said, Sam.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was a joy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I truly enjoyed the interview. I hope many of our members will, like us, choose to do this in their own ways, in their time that's best for them. I'm sorry about the background sound that we have. Somebody's doing some shipping, and sorry about the noise. At the same time, I also welcome the noise. It makes like we are in the live. We are not here to in the stadium where we are soundproof room and all that stuff. Just wherever we are, be comfortable and we vibrate together. And I hope all the members with the guild, we have been able to do this, and hopefully this will be set as a useful example that is helping people to get it going. So this is a starting uh, shot, whatever you call that, the first drink or whatever you call that.
Yeah, it's a way of building community and connection.
That's
So
right.
thank you so much, Sam.
And the privilege.